Hello, hello, hello. This is Corey Thompson from Above Board TV and Dice Tower Dish.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 303. Woo! And we're recording it on January 18th, 2024, even though the show notes say 2023.
Yeah, who wrote those show
Who
notes?
did that? And Board Games Insider is proud to be powered by Board Game Geek. Corey, very
Yes.
special episode today. This is our annual predictions episode. Where is Ignacy? He's too busy to be here doing Portal Con right now, even though it was his idea to do it on this episode. So he texts me this morning and he says, I can't make it. Portal Con is in 20 hours and I got to do this. So we're going to go on without him. We're going to see who won last year's predictions, which was between Ignacy and I, because Corey started right after that.
I think I won.
And you won by not being here. That's correct.
It's true. It's true.
And then we will do a predictions episode, slightly abbreviated, between Corey and myself, and we will mock Ignacy incessantly the entire time. So he might become my next foil here if if he stops showing up. So, but in the meantime, though, before we get to predictions, we do want to talk about what is happening in the world of Corey Thompson.
Well, I am currently down in LA in my studio.
Which is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. For those people who only listen, are you playing music? Oh my, this is ridiculous.
Those of us who have an actual real recording studio, we can do things like this.
Look, and again, if everybody who just listens to this doesn't get this great effect, he's in a professional recording studio holding up a sign that says, Get a
real studio.
Get a real studio. He's a small window for me. I'm in a hotel room in New Orleans right now.
I think that's a Steven problem.
My bed that I'm sleeping in is behind me. I did make the bed. It looks kind of nice. It's okay. And we have a professional producer over there. Brett is doing the production on all this nonsense that you're going to hear in the background. Thank you so much, Brett. I appreciate it. Anyway, yeah, there he is. And now we get Brett on the video recording. So everybody, you should once in a while watch us as well. Sorry to interrupt. That was just epically funny. Corey, what else are you doing besides being a jerk? Go ahead.
No, basically just you being a jerk. This is kind of my day job now, is being a jerk. So, like I said, I'm in LA at the studio. There's going to be some filming on upcoming volcano and glacier episodes for Above Board, and we're going to film some in-studio fill-in segments and intro segments on that, which is going to be super fun. Last night, because I tempted fate and had Brett agree to come in at the absolute butt crack of dawn to record this podcast, of course we were in the studio until at least midnight, 12:30 last night.
Wow.
We played games. We played Marvel Zombicide, which is a ridiculously fun game. I absolutely dominated. I did better than anybody. I don't know. I was Magneto, which I think is the proper way to pronounce that superhero.
Not Magneto, of course. Go ahead.
No, Magneto. You just read it. It says it right there. It's Magnet and then a dash and then there's O. So it's obviously Magneto. I played Arboretum, which is just a gorgeous thinky card game that slipped by my radar for a little while. Had a really good time with that. Yeah, I'm gonna be in the studio entertaining and showing my glorious self on all sorts of cameras. So the world.
Wow. I just can't believe what I'm seeing. This is a gorgeous studio that you're in. So stop bragging, but that's great. Good for you, man. Anything else?
How's your studio?
My studio, this hotel room has got great acoustics. I'm sure that everything's going to sound good. Actually, the best thing here is that the internet seems to be really solid on this Wi-Fi. So I think we're going to be fine for that, which is normally a problem in hotel rooms. But down here, as I mentioned, I'm in New Orleans. A bunch of friends got together. The weather could not be colder here. I mean, it's
Really?
literally sub freezing every day. It took me about 40 hours to get here. I spent the night in Houston Airport because Houston was closed. Like the city was closed down. The airport was, we barely got out of Florida after a 6-hour delay. It was epically horrible. I first world problems, but it literally was one of the worst days of my life almost. It was that horrible trying to get here because there was a fun event occurring the next day. We made it here by the skin of our teeth. But we're here now having a great time with friends. I played Quartermaster General World War II, which is World War II, the party game. You play with 6 players and you just have fun laughing, which is kind of weird,
And
while
that
as you
came out
figure out.
in 1958, right? That was
No, Quartermaster General is fairly new. It's I mean, no, it's this decade, and and it's an Ian Brody game, and he's riffed on it with different theaters of World War II. But this is the whole war you're kind of playing out, and everyone's taking a major faction of the game. You can play with 2, but you play it with 6. It becomes a raucous game. It's just great. Playing again today with the same group. We lost pitifully the first one. So playing again. I played some more Thunder Road Vendetta. There's going to be a lot of great gaming down here. Next week, flying over to Tantrum Con in North Carolina. It should be just funny. I am the very special guest of honor, Corey, because they know how to treat people well, unlike you. And we're going to be doing things
very
like
special guest of honor. You're not just the normal guest.
That's right. We're going to be doing things like a Shark Tank, Proto Tank, where you sit there and you talk about the games that people are bringing, and I act like Mr. Wonderful. It's always funny. I'm playing in 3 VIP games of Thunder Road Vendetta. Always going to be fun.
You brought that on yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I did. Doing a flip the table competition. You literally compete to see how high and crazy you can flip it, and the audience goes crazy flipping a table. Awesome. Can't wait to be out there in more cold weather. It's going to be great. Last thing, I'm just going to give another shout out. Fricks Games launched last week a non-terraforming Mars game on Kickstarter. It's called Fate, Defenders of Grimheim, cooperative game, 1 to 4 players. And it's as much of almost a campaign where your heroes are leveling as they're defending off the monsters, the hordes they're hitting. Check that out on Kickstarter. You can do it by looking up Fricks Games, or you can look up Fate Defenders of Grimheim. I saw that game in the past. Very different experience. But now, with no further ado, let's get over to our predictions of 2024. Thank you. Thank you, Brett.
Professional.
Yes, it's very good. So, the first thing is we're going to talk about last year's predictions. Even though Ignacy's not here, we're going to go through them. We're going to see who won. Was it Bonacore or was it Ignacy? And so for our listeners, we do this episode every year. Our new listeners might not know this. And we've been doing this for 9 straight years. And we usually try to do it in January, in the beginning of the year. We've made it this year. We're going to review last year's predictions, and then we can give you our predictions for 2024. And of course, this is the game, so we each want to win. So we're going to see who won last year, and then we're going to check out what happened for this year, what we predict. And here's how the scoring system works. You do not get points for your own predictions. You only score points or lose points based on if you correctly agree or disagree with the other player's predictions. All right? So we're going to go directly into it. And then, it's 1 point if you get it right, -1 point if you get it wrong. So here we go with last year's predictions. First to mention, though, the 2022 game, Bonacore won 3-1 over Ignacy. Again, he's never won, or maybe he's won once out of 9 years, but that's just, he's not here. I can't mock him that much, or maybe we can.
I suspect that you cheat.
I don't cheat. Why would I cheat? I'm a gamer. We don't cheat. We know that. All right. So last year's predictions, and Corey, you're going to have to sit back a little bit. You weren't here, but I'm going to go through this quickly.
I can read out Ignacy's.
All right. Well, sure. I predicted that Frosthaven would not be in the top 10 games on BGG by the end of 2023. And as a bonus, which doesn't count for scoring. I did say Gloomhaven would be knocked out of the number 1 spot, and Ignacy disagreed with this. So Gloomhaven is knocked out. That didn't really count, but Frosthaven did not make it into the top 10. It's a number 38, I believe. Ignacy gets -1 points for that, for a total, of course, of -1 right now. Go ahead, Corey. Read
So,
Ignacy's.
yeah, Gloomhaven was knocked out by Brass.
Yes,
That
yes,
was
it
kind of a
was.
big deal.
Brass Birmingham.
All right. So Ignacy predicted that there will be at least 255 episodes of Board Game Insider where we discuss Wizards of the Coast and or Hasbro news items.
So I'm not sure if that was a typo because we only do a maximum of 52 episodes, but let's just assume that it was a lot of the episodes.
I think
went
that's
back.
just a big number.
He just meant like a lot. So here's the funny thing. I actually, and I disagreed with this. I went back and I looked at a good sampling. I went back from our current, and I just went back like 10 episodes. Funny enough, where I would have thought, sure, a majority of the times we do mention either a Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro.
Well,
Same,
especially with all the OGL discussion.
right. But the answer was, in the last 10 at least, we did not even come close to having half of them where we mentioned one of those companies, which was just, I found that very interesting. So I'm giving myself the point. I disagreed. 1 point, Stephen, for a total, of course, of 1 point.
I think Ignacy got that one. So I'm just basically
You can argue all you want for him.
You every time.
Sadly, I am the arbitrator here. It's my show notes. Don't mess with the show. Okay. So my next one, I said that the CEO or president of a major hobby game publisher will announce their retirement in 2023, joining the Podfather of gaming in retirement bliss. Ignacy disagreed. And Corey, you don't remember anybody who did announce their retirement, do you?
I don't.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this. There were a couple people who left their positions or moved positions, but no true retirement.
Right. So Ignacy did disagree. He does get a point for that, and he's now back to 0 points. What did Ignacy predict, Corey?
Ignacy said that there will be at least 10 uses of AI in the tabletop gaming industry. By end of year, there will be 10 examples of companies using AI to do work for them within their company.
Right. So now, while go ahead. I mean, this was a hard one. He constantly picks these things where it's hard. You have to almost try to glean knowledge.
I think the answer is yes. I think there have been at least 10 instances of AI art, rules, playtest. There's been so much discussion of AI. It's been such a forefront in everything we're talking about in the news. I think we've hit 10.
Yeah, well, and it's exactly my logic. I mean, while I couldn't go back and say, okay, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. I said it was such a big topic. Between that and the OGL were the 2 biggest topics of the year, in the industry. So what I said was yes. I said yes that he was right. I disagreed, so I get -1 point, and I'm back to 0. So at the moment,
like
0, 0. I say I'm being very fair, Corey. You think that I'm cheating? I'm being very fair.
No, I didn't expect you to get anything.
All right. So then I predicted that the Gen Con 2023 attendance would be 10% higher than Gen Con 2019, which was the high water mark. And I noted that Gen Con had dropped the mask requirements. Ignacy disagreed, and Ignacy was wrong. Gen Con broke all records, and 10% higher was absolutely part of that. So Ignacy -1 point for a total of -1. Okay, what did Ignacy predict last year?
Now, Ignacy said that there will be at least 10 game releases in 2023 of an older Asmodee game using a new IP that was previously not used for that game. I've thought long and hard about this, and there's been a few. What I can come up with is Sheriff of Nottingham was IP'd to the Robin Hood Disney IP, and that game has bounced a lot of companies, and I think technically it was Asmodee at one point. But I'm going to have to say no, there were not 10 game releases. One, Asmodee was wasn't releasing a ton, and two, there were not a lot of IP reskins in
Yeah.
20.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your analysis. I had agreed with Ignacy, so I was wrong. I get -1 point, and I'm back at a total of -1. So right now the score is -1 to -1. My fourth prediction from last year was a major important game will be designed by a new designer from an underrepresented group, such as a woman, a person of color, LGBTQ plus person, and released by the publisher in 2023. Ignacy agreed with me. Corey,
Yeah.
we
Well,
specifically mentioned that to you and me
yeah, the
before.
big thing here is what is a major important game, but I think there have been
Sure.
several. The big one that comes to my mind is Apiary,
Mm-hmm.
which did a very strong release. And Apiary was designed by Connie Vogelman
There
from
you go.
through Stonemeyer.
Right.
Uh,
Definitely
that
would
was
consider a major release by a
now
woman.
it's also where you decide the time frame is. If this is strictly during 2023, Apiary definitely was during December 23,
Mm-hmm.
but Connie Vogelman also has announced the upcoming Worm Span, and that one's going to be released at the end of January. That's really, really a major release, but
Right.
it's not out till 24.
Right, but this was a release, and so we did prove it for one. So Ignacy agreed with me. He gets a point. He's back to 0 points. What did Ignacy predict for his number 4?
Ignacy predicted that Stephen would be universally hated and derided through the entire year, run through the streets, tarred and feathered, and his name would be just absolute filth coming out of the mouth of babes. People would spit as they tried to pronounce it.
Thank you so much.
You're
What did
welcome.
Ignacy predict as his number 4?
Ignacy said there will be at least 100,000 views of the Watch It Played video on the card game Lorcana.
Right, that was interesting. I had disagreed with it. So right before the podcast, I went back and I took a look at Watch It Played's channel, and the answer was no. It was not even near that. It was actually a relatively small, relatively for their channel. They had 14,000 on one. They mentioned it on several. They never broke even 20,000 on a Lorcana mentioned video, which was very interesting, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, with all the hype and all of the rioting in the streets we saw with Lorcana, this seemed like a no-brainer.
Yep. I disagreed with it, so I do get a point, and we are tied going into the final question, 0-0. It's a tight game, tight. We have tight scoring. My fifth, and we always have a funny one for the last one. I said Ignacy will visit the home of the Podfather of Gaming in South Florida in 2023,
Why
which
would
I then made a
anyone go
major
to Florida?
push with Mary, his wife, to try to get him there. And Ignacy disagreed, and he was right. He did not visit me, though Mary really wanted to come down. So Ignacy got the point, and
I visited.
you did. You were at my house in South Florida, but Ignacy sadly did not. So he's got 1 point at the moment. What was his final prediction?
His was Ignacy will make at least 10 appearances on YouTube or podcasts in 2023.
So I just said I agree, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that there was absolutely the
Yeah,
case between this and everything else. He was been on many.
Ignacy has no problem being on video.
Yes, exactly. So I got a point. I'm also at 1. So the final score for 2023, not a major scoring bonanza there. A lot of tough ones that we got wrong. Stephen +1, Ignacy +1. It was a tie last year, so no one can claim the top prognosticator
I
of
can.
last year.
I
Okay.
think I won
Yep.
in
So
23. I think you lost.
Corey is proclaimed
I am
the
proclaimed
winner. So I'm writing that right into
victor.
the show notes so that we mention that on next year's. So there
And
you
plus,
go.
I have the much cooler studio.
So let's get right over to the more important stuff for this episode, right? What are we predicting for 2024? So here we go. My first prediction is all major board game conventions will post record attendance in 2024. To make this a little harder, because Corey was like, I'm
That's
gonna
exactly what
say,
I said. I mean, that's why I
I'm gonna
left it.
add on to this since now, uh, uh, and at least 10% greater than their highest ever. Corey, and we're going to define the major conventions as
I
Origins, UKGE,
honestly,
Gen
yeah,
Con, Essen, PAX U.
I agree. And
And
I
you're still
think
going to
this
agree.
is a no-brainer prediction. I think those are the major conventions. If we start pulling into other conventions, I think it's going to open up a can of worms. We'll have like 20 conventions if we pull a little smaller than UKGE or Origins. The only wild card there, I think, might be Origins. I think Origins is a little in trouble, but I still think it's going to break a
And,
record.
since Bonacor is the very special guest of honor at Origins, I'm sure it's going to drag in so many more
Oh
people.
man. How many of these are you a guest of honor? Because that might change. I mean, that's going to kill attendance.
What was your first prediction, Corey?
My first prediction is there will be a major partnership between a large Western and a large Eastern board game publisher. We're going to see cooperation between the Asian market and the US market in a real, tangible way, either a major distribution or an acquisition.
Yeah, so I mean, can we actually define what major partnerships? Are you saying an acquisition between two
There's going
companies?
to be a press
Wait,
release
okay, so
that will either be an acquisition, a merger, or a major distribution agreement.
so it'll contain either an acquisition,
Yes,
a distribution partnership,
yes, or a merger.
or a merger. Yeah, the
And this will
distribution.
be between a traditionally uh, Eastern Asian major company and a traditionally Western European or US company.
Hmm. Huh. I'm. This is tough. This is a tough one. I'm
See,
gonna
this is a
go.
real prediction, not one of these. Oh, a few more people are going to go to cons.
Oh, wow. All right. Just because you're being a jerk, I will disagree with this. And then we'll have fun figuring out what the story is for next year then. You better come with an actual press release somewhere. So, all right, let's go. I'll go with the
Oh, I'm
disagree on that
looking.
one. All right.
All right,
So
what's your number two?
my number two is that no more than two games released in 2024, right? This year it'll say 2024. No more than two games
Yes.
in 2024 released will make the top 100 games by the end of 2024. And I will give you this for reference. Every year it's been that I have looked and tracked, it's been at least 3 games have during the year of their release have broken into the top 100.
Yep. Yep.
And it's and obviously in years after their release, even more get in there. We're a cult of the new, right? So a game released
Absolutely.
in 23, a big game is going to make it maybe into the top 10. Several of them will. But last year it was 3. The year before it was 4. I'm saying not more than 2. What do you say, Corey?
I think I think I need to answer this with a bit of deep voiced gravitas.
You want some gravitas. Oh,
I disagree.
oh my God. It's
So
great to have a professional producer behind you. It's
I
really
think
cool.
we are such an industry of by the minute hype that I think we're going to have no more than 5, but we're going to have more than 2.
All right. So Corey disagrees with that. Let's see what happens in next year. So Corey, what was your second prediction?
My second prediction, and this is going to have a little bit of a look and feel to it. I don't think there's going to be a way to exactly say, you know, quantitatively measure it, but I predict
It's
Brazil
problematic.
will become a major source for new board games, board game conventions, and new board game designers, much like Japan has become in recent years. I think this is going to be the new hot locale to
Yeah.
go to a convention, to pick up designers, and to find new games.
It's a good it's a very good prediction. It's well thought out. You are going to have to figure out how to, make the case that it happens next year. But
Yes.
but I'm going to disagree with it. While I think that if you had to pick a country, that would be the country. I think that they're still a little too small and evolving to say they are the major source the same way that Japan had become one in recent years. So I'm going to disagree.
At least equal with Japan's reputation for being a source.
Okay, well, wow. Okay, well, that's pretty severe. So, at least equal to Japan's reputation.
Yes.
By
I was just going to say reputation.
End of the year.
End of 24.
Great. And I already said I disagreed, so I will continue my disagree on that one.
Well, I disagree with everything you said.
You often you do. So my third prediction here is that a TCG or CCG, right? Basically same thing, will do over $1 million in crowdfunding in 2024.
I am going to disagree.
All right.
I'm going to disagree with you strongly. I think that the TCG CCGs that would make that kind of money will not crowdfund. And the TCG CCGs that crowdfund will not do well. I think this is such a polarizing market that certain card games will do amazingly well and certain ones will be completely forgotten.
You're wrong, but it's a fair prediction to make. I'm predicting that potentially the one that we mentioned that Asmodee is touting by Epic, I think it was Epic Games, could do this. So that was kind of in my back of my head. So yeah, let's see what happens.
I think our industry is reluctant to accept new CCGs.
Well, they definitely are, but we saw what happened with Lorcana and how
Lorcana is a special case. There's no way it would have been crowdfunded. And Lorcana, you can, put poop in a box and say it's Disney and it will make $1 million.
You got it. All right.
My prediction number 3, which is much better than any of Steven's predictions. I say the crowdfunding record set by Frosthaven of 14 million. And you can look up exactly what that is. It will not be broken for another year.
So during 24, right?
During 24, no board game will break that record. I think the record will be broken by non-board gaming Kickstarters. I mean, I happen to know that another Brandon Sanderson crowdfunding thing is coming up, but the board game record will not.
I think this is an easy one. To break a record like that, he's got to do let me think, Swamp Haven next or something.
Even by Cephalofair, because I think they showed with their miniatures role-playing crowdfunding that that was the one I would have said would have broke the record, and it did not. And Nemesis, the new crowdfunding campaign from Nemesis, came close, but it did not break the Frosthaven record. So I think it will not be broken for another year.
And I'm going to agree with that. It's a very high watermark to hit. So good one. I'm going to agree with you. So now number 4, and by the way, we're abbreviating the number of predictions this year. We're expecting Ignacy to be here, so we were going to only do 3 real ones and a funny one each. So we're going to continue with that. Otherwise, with the episode would go on forever if there were 3 of us. But even though there's not 3 of us, we're going with a slightly less number. Apologies if anybody is disappointed that we're not giving you 2 more after this. But here we go. So here's the last one, and usually we go with the funny one at this point. And it is Corey and Ignacy will finally say publicly, that Bonacore is retired in 2024.
There is absolutely no way. I will never admit such a thing. You are working in the industry and will continue to. And Ignacy would never admit to that. Yep, you are not retired.
I am so retired, but some days it feels like work. What do you got for me as your fourth and final and maybe
Now,
funny prediction?
Being on the board for Play to Z, does this count as being retired? You are a board member of a major publishing company. At least I'm silent in Play to Z. I can pretend this is not a job. You're actually doing stuff.
This is what old retired people do. They're on board of directors. I'm on 4 of them at the moment.
And they don't retire. That's not
retired. It's absolutely
that's not retired.
All
Okay.
right. I'm gonna get you on recording saying Bond, of course, retired. Go ahead.
No. So my prediction is that an amazingly attractive young hippie from California will purchase all of the hobby board gaming industry, except for Stronghold games.
You realize I have only rooting, but no financial interest in Stronghold, right? It says you're not hurting me.
No, but it's tainted.
It's tainted. Okay, so you're the only amazingly unattractive old hippie from California. So it's not you, obviously.
You're saying that I'm an amazingly attractive young hippie from
As I just said, amazingly unattractive and old hippie. That is true. So the answer is, of course, I have to disagree that nobody is certainly buying all of the hobby board game industry. And if they did, they'd buy Stronghold too. So there you go. So there are our predictions for 2024, everybody. We hopefully some good serious ones that will come true or not true, and we'll have this great debate next year, and hopefully you enjoy the humorous ones as well. Right now, we're not doing any other portions of the show except for playtesting, because playtesting has a special question that we asked you last week. So let's get over to playtesting. All right, Corey, so last week,
so much news.
I know there's some great news out there.
I'm a news guy. You skipped all the news that I put in there, all the hard work I did as a retired guy.
You're much less retired than I am. Anyway, so last week I put this question up, and I said, that episode 303, this one now, is our best, most fun episode. It's our annual predictions episode. And to celebrate that, we asked our audience, what are your predictions for the board game hobby industry in 2024? So I wanted to use these questions on this episode. Normally we only do the predictions and then we just bail out, but I thought this was good. By the way, so did you?
These
there's some really great ones in there, some really funny ones. So the people went the whole spectrum here. Did you see anything that you particularly liked?
There were so many. So Evan Halbert did some great predictions. One, Lorcana will lose popularity overall with a significant reduction in number of people interested in purchasing. However, total sales volume may be similar or rise moderately, as the remaining players are finally able to purchase the amounts they want. Great prediction. I have gone back and forth on the Lorcana thing a whole bunch. I still kind of think flash in the pan, but it's going to have this collector's value in the Lorcana world. Evan's number 2 was cute animal and mushroom games will continue to release with similar market share, and that's definitely a trend right now.
It's a huge trend. Why mushrooms?
Small, elegant, nature-themed, non-confrontational, cute, cozy games.
I find the whole mushroom thing weird because, just making up a number, 60% of the people don't even like to eat mushrooms. I know so many people literally.
No.
You don't agree? I think a lot of people
do not agree. I think
all right, 25% of people don't like mushrooms. I love mushrooms, stuffed mushrooms.
10%. I would go 10%.
I know so many people I don't eat fungus.
I think the nature theme here is the strongest influence. So, but I'm a fun guy.
You are.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you.
You are not a fun guy, but not in either of those terms. There you go. So So one of the major themes, and I don't know if people were like kind of like copying each other or anything like that, was about shipping. And people were going back and forth. Some people were saying like shipping will increase again, and therefore prices of games will go up. Just that I guess that would be a game that gets to retail, and therefore because shipping prices of getting the games there are so much, the prices are going to go up. But then other people are saying shipping prices are going to go down, but publishers are still going to keep that extra money and stuff like that. So I found shipping in like at least 3 or 4
Well, it was
of
such a
the
hot topic during 23.
yeah. Very cool. I'm gonna pick a couple of really kind of cool ones here. I'm gonna pick Gabriel Perez. Another war game will hit the top 50. I kind of like that prediction because I like that war games are kind of seeing more love again, and they're not. We now have modern
Yeah,
mechanically war
war
games.
games are using a lot of hybrid mechanisms.
Hmm.
You get things like the Undaunted series where you've got deck building war games.
That's great
So,
stuff.
yeah, you've got some fantastic mixes there.
He also says Frosthaven will be in the top 15 by the end of the year. I bet it's not. I just, and not that it's not as good. It's probably better than Gloomhaven. I think that there's just a fatigue
The
on it.
novelty of it. I
Hmm.
think that to get into the top 10, there has to be absolutely like an addictive play of it or a novelty that drives it up there. And
Hmm.
I think Gloomhaven holds that for the fans, and Frosthaven isn't going to supplant it.
He says Portal Games will acquire a smaller company. I love that one. I
That's
keep
good.
thinking, Ignacy is going to acquire somebody. Steven will go to at least 2 conventions a month from March to December.
Oh,
I,
come
I
on.
not quite 2 a month, but and games will drop in price by 5%. Very hard to
I
see
don't
that
think,
over the whole
yeah, I
industry.
don't think games will ever drop. I think publishers don't like to drop. And it's
It's
going to
hard
take
to drop
something
prices.
very dramatic to make
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh, Go
I'm going to
ahead.
go Al Mad. Uh, and the thing is, Al has some great predictions here. GameFound and BackerKit are going to take over Kickstarter. Both platforms combined will have crowdfunded more games than Kickstarter alone. That's a bold prediction. I think Kickstarter is so firmly established, it's going to be a hard one to sell. He predicts greener games, which we're already seeing, games that are touting all cardboard, no plastic, different packaging. That's great. But what I like is Al actually added a funny prediction that Stephen will paraphrase his usual "I am retired, I am not working," but more times in 2024 than Ignacy will say, "I will be Slavic on this one." Minimum 8 times.
I saw that and
I think that's great.
I loved that one. I mean, Ignacy says, I'm very Slavic about that. I am very Slavic about this. He says that so many times. Um, Rob McClune, I just one more before we break. And Rob had 9 predictions here. I can't mention them all, but there was some of them were just fantastic. First of all, he went with the crazy ones like Steven will finally admit to himself, to Paula, and us. He's no longer retired, but he's semi-retired. Corey will take a commanding share in IKEA. Barry will become lead designer for board gaming shelves for the world. And Ignacy will start working on his pilot's license to become the first direct personal board game delivery service. Rob, I
Wow.
love those. They're great. Ignacy just will not get into planes, period,
No,
unless
but I
he's
can see
forced on.
Ignacy doing a drone service and founding personal drone delivery of board games within the Slavic region.
He did mention a couple of real ones, like someone will develop a Netflix like board game service. Now, we had that. Do you remember that service? And I just can't remember its name right now. Where they would send you a
Yeah.
game they would mail you physically. United States Postal Service mail you a game, and then you'd have X amount of time. You got to send it back. Do you remember that service? I just can't remember who it was,
I
but it's
do,
obviously
but
not in business.
I thought it was a purchase service. I thought it was you do a subscription for a certain amount of money and they send you a new game on a regular basis.
No, there was one where they would send you a game, you could play it for X time, and you had to send it back. Now they would take the box out, they would make it as small as they could make it to make this economical, but it was like old school Netflix, with the
That's
DVDs.
tough. Our products are
Yeah.
so degradable.
They're degradable and they're big, and it doesn't make it, easy to get them around the country,
Yeah.
much less the world. So I'll just take one more, like from Mike Dando here at the bottom of the list. He said, we'll see more expansions for games and less new innovative content. And that's like almost the definition right now, sadly, that publishers are,
Yeah.
well, not that they're not innovating. We're still innovating, but what we're doing is we're definitely focusing on our lines, right? And
My only issue with that prediction is I think we're already there.
yeah, we are already there. I mean,
I don't think that's going to happen more. I think we're already doing it significantly.
He also says no game released in 2024 will make it into the BGD top 10 by the end of the year, which is wrong.
Top 20, even gave a top 20.
In the top 20, he said, nah. Oh, into the top 20. So I said 2 into the top 100. So that's possible. That one is definitely possible. I kind of agree with top 20 is hard to crack with a game in the same year.
I mean, I think that Wormspan has a chance just out of the sheer hype and popularity.
There you go. So Corey, we didn't create a new question, but we need to do one on the fly here because I see a hole in the show notes here. We need a question for everybody. Can you come up with something?
That's your job.
Oh, that's great. That's so nice of you to not help me out here.
Well, I'll be very
wait, we do have one. We have one. We have one right here at the bottom.
A whole bunch of backup questions.
No. We used all your backup, and that was very nice. But we have one right here.
I did my job.
Let's put this one. So this is a Corey. Okay. Yeah, I think this was your question. Or maybe I grabbed this from Christine last week. Remember her question, like, where are most people gaming? That's what we did. So this question actually is something that one of our friends asked, and we talked about it last week. We're going to use it for our question right here. So Christine Woogies on BGG, thank you so much. She asked, and we're kind of asking back out, where do you think most gamers in our audience are gaming? Is it private groups, game stores, meetups, conventions? And we talked about this already. And
yeah.
I think that most people, that was our thing. So we're kind of asking everybody, where do they game? Private groups, right? Home groups are still the big one, or just have always traditionally been and continue to be. But how many people are out there going to game stores? How many people have created meetup groups or go to a meetup group, which I think are great ways of finding yet another source of gaming? And how many people are out there in cons?
The really interesting part of this question is who we're asking it to. So of our audience that are going to answer this, we're going to get a very different answer than in the general public. So I'm really curious what they're going to say. I think it's going to surprise us.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. So we're now going to post that question in a thread on Board Game Geek. So please go to our guild and find our playtesting thread for this question and post your answer to it. And now we'll get over to final scoring. As I get older, my voice gets deeper and deeper. Hey, Brett, can you change my voice too? Probably not, because he's in California and I'm here in New Orleans. All right.
It would be great if Steven had the squeaky voice.
Give me Mickey Mouse's voice or something. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of this podcast, you can. Just go over to our Board Game Geek Guild, ask us questions in strategy and tactics into that thread, or answer our question to you from our playtesting segment. We really want to hear from you. Check out the websites, portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, play2zgames.com, and we're all over social media, so please like our Facebook page /BoardGamesInsider, the /PortalGamesUS page /PodfatherGaming, and /Play2ZGames. You can speak directly to each one of us on X and Instagram. It's @PortalGamesUS, @PodfatherGaming, @DicetowerDish. And the YouTube channels are Portal Games Studio, the Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. And on TikTok for Ignacy, it's Portal Games US. We'd love to see you in person at an upcoming convention in 2024. I'll see you, hopefully a lot of you, at TantrumCon. Please come up and say hello. That will be great. Board Games Insider is professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want your podcast edited by Joshua, reach out to him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that beautiful voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, and in between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Corey, anything special to announce?
I just want to say that at Above Board, we are talking about our 2024 filming schedule, and we've got some really exciting things that are lining up. There
Really?
is going to be some major travel through Europe. We're going to be filming in some pretty iconic locations. There's going to be some really cool stuff coming out of the studio in 24.
My, contracts for my appearances on Above Board TV might have gotten lost someplace. I haven't seen them yet. So when am I going to get my time on the show? When?
Don't call us. We'll call you.
Ah,
Trust me, it's in the mail. Soon. Just sit by that mailbox. You'll be good.
The disrespect for the Podfather is palpable here. I'm just going to point that out. What is with this? Brett, help me out here. Get me on, Brett. Come on. I've been asking Travis for 2 years.
Real studios.
I will set up a studio. He's showing his studio. I will pay my own way to be there. And I'm not SAG, so you don't got to pay me. I'm the cheapest guy who will work for you. All I want to be is part of this really amazing thing. Anyway, all right, everybody. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing before we leave. I had announced that Play 2Z Kickstarter date, I made a slightly wrong date. It's going to be February 27th, where we bring Ascending Empires back. So check that out. That's my quick little announcement for Play 2Z. And everybody, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.